Okay, I think we'll get started. So if you're coming from the GNL project, I encourage you to look at the introductory video for this playlist to see if this is the right series for you. Otherwise, let's pick up with light. A little different topic here, but an important one. We're going to talk about when light hits a boundary between two transparent materials. So we know that we've handled now light going through a transparent material where we adjust the wavelength and the speed according to the index of refraction, and then of course the frequency stays the same. Well, let's put this into practice with some thin films, and this will also bring up something that we didn't see when we were talking about waves on a string. This is a little more rich again than that, so we'll get a sense of what happens when light hits one of these boundaries. So we might imagine air to glass, or we might even have air to some kind of let's say you had oil, water, and air. Light comes in, goes from air to water to oil. So we might be passing through a number of different interfaces, but those interfaces are sharp boundaries, and they're transparent on both sides. But they have different indices of refraction, and that's key here. So at any given boundary, there's going to be two cases. If the incoming light is coming from a higher index of refraction, and then the other case would be when the incoming light is coming from the lower index of refraction. Now, this is going to reflect, and it's also going to transmit through. I'm not showing that here, but this would extend through, right? But it's going to reflect, and I drew it down here. This is really right on top of this, right? So right on this same line, incoming line that's coming in. Now, what's interesting is if we're coming from a lower index of refraction, it is like we're hitting a wall with the string, and we get a reflection of the signal. So we're going to get a phase shift. It's going to be inverted. However, if we're coming in from higher index of refraction, then we are not going to get a phase shift. So whether we have a phase shift or not depends on whether our light is passing through the boundary from a higher index of refraction to lower, or lower to higher. And so when we're looking at the behavior of light here across these boundaries, it's going to be important to know the index of refraction on either side of these. Well, a more challenging case then is with this idea of a thin film. So this is a very thin layer that's on the order of wavelengths, several wavelengths, but not much longer than a wavelength. So L, the thickness of the material, is on the order of, say, nanometer, maybe microns, but several times, maybe 1 or 2, 3 times the wavelength of light, but not really, really large. Okay, so we have light coming in. It will pass one boundary and then another boundary. In both cases, we will get a reflection, and we're going to have to ask the question, do we have a phase shift or not? We're going to have to keep track of whether we do or not. Now, this will reflect right on top of here, and this will reflect right on top of here. So we're going to get the reflection off the front surface and the reflection off the back surface running collinear to each other. Again, I've drawn them off axis so we can actually see them, but they're really on top of each other. Now, the question is, what is the net result? Well, the net result is going to be the sum of these two. And so let's see what happens. We get an initial reflection here, but we get a transmission and then reflects it. So this loops back by a total length of 2L. So the back reflection travels 2L further than the front reflection. Now, if there were no phase shifts, then we just ask the question, are they in phase or out of phase? That is, does this distance, does this differ by an integer wavelength or a odd half integer wavelength? Okay? And if it differs by an integer wavelength, then we get constructive interference. If it is by a half integer wavelength, we get destructive interference. But it's not that simple anymore, right? We can't just do that because we have to account for the phase shifts depending on whether we're going from a high index of refraction or coming from a low index of refraction. So let's look at two cases. Then I think you could work out all the other remaining possible cases. So let's look at case one, and we're going to go just in order like this. So this would be something like air, a polymer film, and then glass. And we'll see that this has a good application in anti-reflective coatings, unlike eyeglasses and that sort of thing. So let's see what happens here. So we're coming in from this direction. We're going from low to high. So yes, we get a phase transition. Right, we're here, we get a phase transition. Then that's our front surface reflection. This passes through, and now it's going again from low to high because 2 is higher than the film. So we get another phase reflection. So we count up 2 phase shifts. So our total distance d traveled is going to be the 2L, and then we add in the 2 phase shifts. Okay? Now, the other thing we need to worry about is we're going to be talking about wavelength here, because we're comparing the length of the thin film compared to the wavelength. So we're going to need to work with the wavelength inside the film. So we have to divide the wavelength in air, which is what we're usually given, like light coming in at 500 nanometers or something like that. That's referring to light in the air, and we need to consider the wavelength in the film. So when we're talking about these wavelengths, we need to use the film wavelength. So let's look now for constructive interference. We need an integer number of wavelengths. So here's what we're going to need for constructive interference. Here's what we have. 1/2 and 1/2 is 1. So that's coming from here. This is coming from just the fact we want constructive interference. Solve for L, and we get this. Now, let's simplify this a little bit. This is m minus 1. M is just an integer, right? So let's just call m minus 1, which is also an integer. Let's just relabel that as m. Right? So we're not saying m is equal to m minus 1. What we're saying here is m minus 1 is an integer. Just to simplify things, let's just rename it as m. And so that gives us our formula here for this case of a thin film. If we want constructive interference in the reflected light here, we would try to choose a length that is equal to some integer of this fraction here. Okay. Now, if we're trying to build anti-reflective coatings, we would want the opposite case. We would want destructive case. I got a little pinched down here. But the only difference here now is we'd have m times this plus 1/2. This is 1/2 here. Times the wavelength. We need to be a half integer of a wavelength extra. And so we have that. This is coming from the desire for a destructive case. And then this is what we got for this particular case, the 2L and the 2 phase shifts. So we solve for that, and we get this same fraction, lambda air over 2n, and then m plus 1/2. Okay? So that's for a destructive interference. So if you were trying to manufacture some glasses with anti-reflective coating, you'd probably shoot for right in the middle of the spectrum. So let's say like 550 nanometers. And you would try to build the thickness of this polymer on top of the glass that's equal to this right here, a length that's some odd half integer of 500 nanometers divided by the index of refraction of whatever your polymer is. Well, just for a little extra practice, let's do case 2. And again, you can do the other cases. So here we're going to stick with less on this side, but now the film is going to be more. So this would be like a soap bubble or something, where you've got air, thin film, and then air on the other side would be an example of that. So we have yes for a phase transition here, just like we did over here. But now we're going from high to low, so we have no phase transition. So notice here we have only one phase shift here. So our total distance is 2L plus the single half wavelength phase shift. So we do the constructive. What do we want for constructive? We want an integer times this. And we solve this and we get m minus 1/2. Well, again, m minus 1/2 is an odd half integer, like 2/3, 5/3, 3 halves, 5 halves, 7 halves, something like that. Well, let's just relabel it. Again, we're not saying these are equal, but we're just going to relabel this as m plus 1/2. It's still an odd half integer. So that gives us this. Notice, this is exactly the same as the destructive one over here. And that makes sense. We're getting one less phase shift, so that shifts everything off by half a wavelength. And that's why the constructive and the destructive match between these two cases. Then we can carry this out for the destructive case, and we get m, and again, this. Now these match. So you have to be very, very careful. Don't just blindly have a list of equations here. You have to really understand why this is working, and it's predicated on this idea that if you're coming from high to low, there's no phase shift. From low to high, there is a phase shift. As long as you keep track of that, then you can carry that out. So I would suggest coming up with all the different possible cases that you might have here. Make sure you work them out very carefully and see the consistency between all these. They should all make sense at the end when you've done all of these. And I would do that before jumping into some of the problems. Once you feel good about your understanding, then try to solve some of the homework problems.